generally speaking, beneath the anger for everybody who's getting upset, there's a more tender emotion. There's a more vulnerable emotion that you could see and experience and showcase that not too many people know about. And it could be pain, it could be hurt, it could be betrayal, it could be rejection. All right, we're gonna have a conversation about anger right now, frustration, disappointment, that energetic burst of, I feel so frustrated, so powerless over a situation that I need to bolster myself up, get big, get angry. Men would do it. Women absolutely do it more than you might think. And we all have a relationship to anger that I think few people really understand. So my goal here is to unpack with you healthy anger, toxic anger, the necessity for it, why it's completely useless, how to deal with it, and everywhere in between. But something to recognize for anger or about anger right away is that it's a very difficult emotion to connect to. It's actually, of all the emotions that you could possibly have and think of, it's the least vulnerable emotion there is. Why? Because when we get frustrated, when we get angry at somebody and we let them feel and see and sense and experience that energy, it's a very repelling type of energy. We use it as almost like a survival instinct to push people away from something that is important to us or valuable to us, right? You could see it in dogs. If you were to walk into a dude's yard or a home and there's a dog there, they're going to start growling and get angry. If you were messing with a cat and cats don't want to be messed with, they're going to hiss at you and claw. You could think of it with a lion, a crocodile. Any animal out there is going to have a very strong relationship to their protective sense, to their anger, because anger, the whole purpose of anger and what it's communicating at a very base level is, hey, you are crossing a boundary of mine. You are doing something that goes against my values, that goes against what's meaningful and important to me. And I need to let you know about it. But because my main objective, this is anger talking, is that you stop what you're doing, I will do whatever I need to do, get as big as I need to get as loud as I need to be in order for you to know that what you just did is unacceptable. I care more about you stopping your behavior so that you don't continue destroying me or the things and the people that I love. And that's why I'm going to get really big right now. That at a base level is anger. Now, a lot of people get angry because they don't know how to connect to the more tender emotion. Anger is the least vulnerable emotion there is because it's difficult for you to connect. If I were to get angry at you, you would sense from me that I'm giving you this energy of like, hey, back down, I'm in charge and you're in trouble. I'm in control and you want to do everything in your power to not walk around me with eggshells and feeling like things are fragile, and you would do whatever it takes to just not get on my bad side, as we say about parents or siblings or our spouse or whoever. Now, that being said, the reason that anger is so powerful is because it does create definition. Some people say anger is a bad thing. No one should ever get angry. But I also believe that the reverse is also just as unhealthy. The anger is important because it helps us get connected to values. I do believe that you need to use the fuel that you have. And sometimes in order for us to want to change our lives and get healthier, we got to get angry. We got to get sick and tired of being sick and tired. Now, I believe where people go wrong is how they channel it. And that's everything. Being angry is not a sin. Being angry is not bad. But how we channel that energy and how we channel that anger means the whole world. And for most people, I'd say for 99% of people, maybe not 99, but around a majority of people, 80%, 90% of people, anger is the most non-vulnerable emotion there is because it's the least connecting between two people. But say, for example, you have somebody who has a history of just being passive, quiet, just lowly, and they are a people pleaser, they don't have an opinion, they don't have a voice, and they all of a sudden tap into anger and frustration. It can actually be a very connecting experience for you with them because you got to see a side of them that they rarely get to showcase. And it does create definition. It does create boundary. It does help you see where someone starts and where someone stops, where someone begins and where someone ends. And so anger as a whole is a very primal, instinctive, natural response within people. But we're so disconnected from it that it becomes a reaction. Few people know how to do it consciously. Few people know how to do it with self-awareness while still being in control of them, because anger is almost like a thing that at the end happens to us. It's like, oh, sorry, I got angry out of nowhere. And then it takes us over, which also isn't fun, because then we're not walking in any level of self-control. But it's been modeled. It got modeled to us from mom, from dad, from people. Somewhere around us, we felt like the safest and the most acceptable form of expression. I think primarily for men, a lot of men showcase this, where they're stoic, they don't show any emotion, but when they do, oh boy, they know how to show and throw down with getting pissed off, with getting upset, with getting angry, with throwing a tantrum, with getting destructive, with breaking things. I know in my life, in my history, I came from a family like that. My family knows anger very, very well. And as a result, monkey see, monkey do. Anger has been something in my life that has just happened, almost a default setting. It's like, we're going to get angry. Why? Because no one knew the language of emotion. No one knew how to understand emotion. And no one knew how to get to the more tender place beneath the anger itself. So here's something to know massively, is that generally speaking, beneath the anger, for everybody who's getting upset, there's a more tender emotion. There's a more vulnerable emotion that you could see and experience and showcase that not too many people know about. And it could be pain, it could be hurt, it could be betrayal, it could be rejection. And again, those are more connecting emotions, those are more connecting feelings, but most of us don't know what's really going on. So in my life, in my family, we just got angry. We would just get pissed. We would just get frustrated as a default setting. It was literally like a camera setting would be set to like record or to pictures. Ours was just set to like just get angry. My camera setting, my default setting within my own life was just like get frustrated, get angry. And it's taken me a long time to unpack and unwind and undo what anger is really all about, because toxic anger is when it's about you. Jesus emulated a version of anger, which is terrific, because the only times that you saw him really get angry was at the oppression and the injustice of his people, of the people that he was serving, right? When he flipped over the table, he made a whip of cords, which is a whole other story and just mind-blowing to me that he would go and take time to make a cord. He's that heated that he decided to make a cord, like make a whip out of cords, and then still think it's a really good idea to use that to go threaten all the Pharisees. It's insane. But it wasn't because of his hatred towards the Pharisees. It was due to his love for the people. And so another way of being able to say it is that a lot of times our anger can be a direct result of our love, but it's incredibly misguided. Again, I'm here to help you connect to maybe the heart behind anger, the tone underneath it, so that you can begin to maybe understand it for yourself, not fear it, want to know it more, because every single one of us have a history with it, right? It's like I saw that in my world, anger was the only way to truly survive and get by. It was the only way to really make sure that somebody listened to you. I found usefulness in anger, which from that regard, if I'm using anger as a default setting, then it's not actually useful. I'm powerless. I'm uneducated. I don't know how to truly persuade people, convince people in a healthy way. I don't know how to connect with people. I don't know how to build, create friends and influence with people if I'm just using my anger as a form of dominating over people and being like a total dictator. And that's not fun for anybody either. But the reverse is also true, that you don't just want to be dominated and let life take you by and just feel like, well, whatever will be, while having no sense of self and sense of value systems that you want to communicate with the people that are around you too. So I know for most people, getting angry, I mean, we all have a history with it, whether you're scared of it, whether you find it to be useful, whether it didn't happen for you much growing up, or maybe it just was never anything that like came about. Because I know for my wife, for example, very different nature than mine. She's more like a lamb. I'm definitely more like a lion. And she's very tender. She's very beautiful in her heart. She doesn't get angry often, but there was an opportunity that I got to really connect with her in a vulnerable way, because it's rare that she showcases, just anger and frustration like that. It was a couple years into our marriage. We were living in Canada, and she was sick and tired of living in Canada. we live in the States now, all because of her. So I do believe that anger can be a catalyst for wholeness, for healing, for breakthrough in our life. Because in order to get sick and tired of being sick and tired, you have to get frustrated. You got to get discontent. You got to get angry and upset about the way that things are working for you. And my wife started to voice to me this anger. She started to get really frustrated. But what's funny is she geared it at me. And she's like, you want to be in Canada? I don't want to be in Canada. I don't want to be in the snow and cold and miserable. She's like, my wife is from Southern California, so she had never really known cold and snow. And we tried it out for a few years, and she just started to get all this frustration, all this anger out that I didn't know. And instead of me being like taken back and offended, or like, oh my gosh, and I'm not the one to blame, and da 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 da, I actually looked at connecting to the real heart behind her anger. And again, when you know that someone's getting angry because they care about you, because they care about the relationship, because they care about your life or your direction and where you're going, the delivery might be off, but you can let go of so many offenses to people's anger if you understood the heart of where it came from. And so with my wife, when she got angered and upset about being in Canada and wanting to be back in the United States, I started to see her heart behind it, and she was getting vicious at me, and I smiled. I was just like, dude, I love this. I love seeing this side of you. I love seeing you get passionate. I love seeing you get awake. I love seeing you feel like you are learning that which is making you happy and mad and sad and anywhere in between. So for me, it allowed me to connect to her, again, because it was a rarity that she showed it. And for most people, they're not really knowing how to show it. So the goal here with anger is that it's okay to get angry. It's okay to get pissed. It's okay to get frustrated. But how you channel that energy towards your life is everything. Because other people can get caught in the crossfires or in the crosshairs of your own internal powerlessness. And that's also a really big thing as well. We're talking about like mindsets, emotions, our belief systems surrounding why we're getting angry and why things are unjust. And a lot of it is the upbringing from our past. A lot of people say, they're my problem, you're my problem, you're my problem. If you didn't do this, then I'd be okay. If you did that, then I'd be fine. I'm only pissed off because you did this. When in reality, we're a loaded gun, baby. We are already choosing what is going to make us upset and what's going to make us happy. Happiness is an internal meter. Anger is an internal meter. Nobody is ever the brunt and the one solely responsible for you being angered. You are choosing to be angry. I am choosing to be angry out of my own angriness. If it wasn't, let's just say you're like, my spouse really chaps me up. My spouse really gets me frustrated. Well, the truth is, if you found a new spouse, they would also get you frustrated. What I'd like to propose is the idea is that other people are like the trigger that's going off, and you are the one determining how many bullets is in the gun. You could have a gun that's not ever loaded. So people could try to trigger you and it's just blank. Nothing goes off. It doesn't bother you. It's benign. So you've created the container, the value system that says, this is what I need in life to make me happy. This is who people need to be in order to make me happy. And if people don't make me happy and they violate all of this, then I will choose to be very mad, angered, and upset. The problem with that is it makes happiness then an external force, an external job, and other people are the reason why you are not okay, which is not okay, because that's a very fragile ecosystem. People are never going to do what you want. People are not going to live and wake up for your, fulfillment and your potential. No one's going to wake up trying to fulfill your dreams and make sure you live and love your life on purpose. That's all an internally rooted thing. And most people don't realize that the last fight that they had with their spouse, the last fight that they had with somebody began long before they met. So in terms of relationship, all of these things are cues, are ways of doing things, our code of ethics, our ways of seeing the world that are really new to us now when we see other people do it differently. I remember one time we had a friend over and she was helping us unload the dishwasher. I'm such a butthead, but I was starting to get frustrated with her in my mind that she wasn't loading and unloading the dishwasher properly. You know what I mean? She put a cup in the wrong spot because I know where they all go for me, but she didn't. And so I started to get frustrated because I was like, it's so important that it goes in the right spot. And you could be right, but super relationally incorrect. And so something to recognize for anger and for frustration is that if people do things in a way that you don't want, well, understand that they're going to do things in a way that you don't want all the time because they don't have your same backstory, your same context, the same upbringing as you do, the same either economic background, socioeconomic background, cultural background, ethnic background, national background, all these backgrounds that you and I have that constitute like how to live and how to walk and how to operate and how to talk. You know, some people I know have said to me, it's like, Matt, I don't like you. I don't like you at all. And I'm like, okay, that's cool. You don't have to like me. And they're like, you know, you're big, you're loud, you have a personality. And I think you're trying to prove yourself and prove something. Because for them, when they are that version like me of themselves, they're doing it for unhealthy reasons. And I'm like, oh, I could totally see why you think that. I'm just being me. So a huge aspect of connecting with people more is giving people the benefit of the doubt, is not making assumptions. When you assume, you make an ASS out of UME. That's an old saying. I heard it when I was a kid. I'm sure you've heard it as well. But that's what happens when you assume. You make an arse out of yourself. You make a complete donkey and fool out of yourself. When you assume, that's the kind of the breakdown of the word. And so when it comes to anger and wrapping it all up, my bigger questions for you is twofold. One is, how can you connect to the more tender emotions? And what are the more tender emotions that are going on beneath your anger? Are you really hurt? Are you rejected? Are you feeling betrayed? Are you feeling sad? Are you feeling lost, disappointment, pain? Again, we're not always quick to want to showcase those emotions because we don't even know what they are. But if we learn to uncover and understand what those emotions were and what they were telling us, then we'd be able to better explain what that was to be about. I was starting to say you better be able to explain it, but I didn't mean it in a forceful way. I was trying to say that we'd be able to explain better what's going on within us. There we go. The other side of this is finding ways to expel and get that energy out. So if you're frustrated, if you're angry, what would be a really healthy practice is if you got that energy out first. Now, and energy and emotion, so emotion is simply energy in motion, right? And anger is a heightened form of that emotion, of energy in motion. And you don't want to give it to your kids, and you don't want to, have your wife or your husband get the brunt of it. What you really want is to be able to let it out first. So you blow off the steam and the edge. And you can do that through a few different ways. You could do that through working out, going for a run. You could do that by taking that energy and channeling it into your work or into your business. You can do it even by a bat practice. So it's where you grab like a baseball bat and go to like a mattress or a bed. You grab a wooden baseball bat or whatever, and you just beat it. And you get that energy out. You force it out. You get it all out of you. Or if you're really angry, play like a really angry song. A song that resonates with the level of emotion you feel. Maybe something super heavy metal, super hardcore. And you dance to that emotion and get it out of you. Again, energy that gets trapped, emotion that gets trapped will get stored in our body, and we want to expel it. And so the reason why I'd say that you want to do something with movement opposed to like praying, Bible reading, journaling, a cold shower, or a cold plunge is because you want to move that body out of you. Those aren't bad things. Sometimes that might be, even like with breath work, it could be the thing you're needing to just release it from you. But you also might want to find a way to partner with it so you can get your body activated and actually push all of that emotion outside of you. And then once you've done that, you're able to have the conversation. I remember a friend of mine, he was very, very angry at somebody for what they said about him online. And he was going to reach out and talk to him and just say, hey, can we go for coffee? Can we talk about it? And he went and worked out, went to the gym, pumped some iron, pushed all that emotion and energy out of his body. And then he let it go. He didn't care anymore. He's like, whatever. He said what he said and be like, fine by me. He didn't know the guy at all, but he felt like his character was being defamed by something that was said about him online. Classic, right? That's never happened to any of us. And so the key here is to learn to navigate your relationship with anger, also by understanding your history on it. So there's going to be questions for you below on helping you navigate. Again, this is a crash course, some healthy, simple breakdowns on anger. It's not like extensive by any means. We could really dive into this for a very long time, but I'd love for you to understand your relationship with anger, how it's been shaping you, why you felt like maybe it's the only emotion that you could show or never show. And you can answer those questions below, and that'll really kickstart some beautiful conversations in vulnerability and you growing in self-awareness about what anger means to you and how to use it and apply it in your life. Lots of love to you, and I'll catch you in the next one.